Today's video will be about how I ended up in Merida and why I chose this place and why I am still here pretty much. Hello guys, welcome. Alright, so for those who are watching me for the very first time, my name is Adiola and I am an African living here in Merida, Yucatan, Mexico. Alright, so in this series of video, I will be creating a few videos about life in Merida. So living and thriving in Merida, just in case you are thinking of moving down here or just moving anywhere else in Mexico. So the next few video series will be about some tips that I have learned over the past few years that I have been living here. All right, so let me go back to December 2020. So that was actually when I arrived here. So I arrived here in the first week of December 2020. So that was like the pandemic era. So before December 2020, right, I pretty much was living that digital nomad lifestyle whereby I was hopping from one city to the other, from one country to the other. Yes, even during the pandemic I was exhausted. Now it wasn't planned, it wasn't for fun, but I was looking for a home, you could say. So in 2020, September 2020, so let's go back before Merida, before December. So in September 2020, I packed my things and I left Medellin, Colombia. All right. So I was living in Colombia for 2 years. So from like September 2018 to September 2020. So I was in Colombia all throughout the lockdown and everything. So when they opened up airports, right? So they opened up international airports like publicly. And I thought, okay, well, I've been here 2 years already. Let's just go out and let's go do something else. So I packed my things and then I flew to Toronto, Canada to go see some family. And then I flew to Edmonton to go see my family. And then from there, then I flew down to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico. So I spent about a month or so, about 5 weeks in Canada. But instead of flying back to Colombia, I flew down here to Mexico. The reason for that was because I couldn't go back to Colombia. I had to wait till the following year for my visa to reset, because the tourist visa in Colombia allows you to stay in the country for maximum 6 months, so 180 days in a calendar year. So that could be from January to June or March to September, you know, maximum 180 days in a calendar year. Now I left Colombia in September, right, and I had been there the whole time. So I actually overstayed my visa. Yes, I overstayed my visa, and also with the old pandemic restriction, so I even overstayed even longer. But then it wasn't a big deal because the government stopped counting for everybody because we were all stuck in the country. So they were like, okay, you know, we're not going to charge you extra, or we're not going to give you a fine when you leave. I had to pay a fine anyway because even before the pandemic, I had already overstayed anyway. I had overstayed my welcome. So I had to wait till January to go back. But I didn't want to spend my winter in Canada because I left, like, I began my nomadic lifestyle in January of 2018. So I had already left over 2 years, almost 3 years now. And I did not want to spend any additional day in the winter, right? So I thought, okay, let me come to Mexico, better weather and lower cost of living. Let's go there while I wait to go back to Colombia. Now this was in November, so like first week or mid-November. Yeah, it was the first week November or thereabouts. So then I flew down to Puerto Vallarta. Then in November from Edmonton, I took a direct flight down to Puerto Vallarta. So I stayed there for a couple of weeks. I was really excited because when I left Edmonton, we had a major snowstorm. This was like in November. They had snowstorm already in November. So I mean, we couldn't even fly out. We had to wait for a few hours. When I landed in Puerto Vallarta, the following day I went straight to the beach. So I spent a couple weeks in Puerto Vallarta and I thought, okay, well, let me go to Mexico City. My first time in Mexico City was in April of 2018, so 2.5 years prior, and I really loved it then. So I thought, okay, let me go to Mexico City. But when I got to Mexico City, I didn't actually enjoy it because it was a big city, metropolis. So I thought, okay, well, this isn't a pandemic city. I don't have to be here. I don't even have like a standard job whereby you have to go to the office. Like, I work online. So what am I doing here? Plus also it was cool, not cold, it was cool. So in the daytime, it was about mid-20s degrees Celsius, and then at night the temperature would drop to about 10 degrees or so at night. Now for me, I was living in Medellin for 2 years, so I had already acclimatized to that weather, whereby it was like spring all year round. So 20s to about mid-20s, high 20s at the very most. In the summertime, it's about low 30s in the summertime. So I had already gotten used to that kind of temperature. Now, having to wear long sleeves to go to bed at night or just bundle up early in the morning, that wasn't it for me. Like, I had already left that lifestyle. Like, by that time, I think I only had one sweater or one jacket or something like that. So I didn't even have proper spring weather clothing. So, and my Airbnb then, I just rented a room. It was a basic Airbnb. So at night, it gets pretty cool. And then so we had hot water in the shower, and then the kitchen, fortunately we had hot water in the kitchen, but then the bathroom sink, it was like ice cold water. Now imagine washing your face at night or brushing your teeth, and like you're cold already, and now you have to put some water in your hands and wash your face with it or brush your teeth with it. I was always cold. I was always cold. So I thought, okay, we have to leave Mexico City now, because by then I had 1 month left. This was like early December, like December 1st or something. I was like, we have to leave Mexico City like right now. So, and then I was researching, and then because I was looking for a city that was similar to Medellin when it comes to the climate. So I found a city just outside of Mexico City. It's called Cuernavaca, and I almost booked an Airbnb and I almost went there, but then again at the last minute I thought, this city, it's only about an hour and a half outside of Mexico City, meaning that it's probably gonna be just as well, it's also gonna be a big city. So I thought, okay, that is not a good choice, so let's find another city. And hey, I'm in Mexico. I'm going back to Medellin, where they don't have beaches. If I have to go to a beach, I have to fly out. So I was like, hey, I'm in Mexico, let me go to a beach town. But hey, hold on, wait a minute. I don't want to go to Cancun. I don't want to go to Playa. I don't want to go to Tulum. I don't want to go to any of these tourist party cities. I wanted to stay outside of them, especially during the pandemic. So I thought, okay, well, let's look for a city that's not on the coast, but at least close enough to the coast, so I can always take a bus. Within an hour, I'm there. So I was still doing research, and then I was watching a lot of YouTube videos by travel bloggers who came down to Mexico, and then they had, some content about different cities in Mexico. And so I stumbled upon this particular apartment tour video by one of the YouTubers. And so she talked about affordable apartments, affordable cost of living, or at least as an African-American woman. So, and then she talked about, how to find apartments in Merida, Mexico. I was like, Merida, where is that? Because mind you, before this, I didn't even know about Merida. I knew about the popular cities because I was in Mexico for about 5 months in 2018. So I only knew about the popular cities. And 2018, Merida wasn't really on the map like that then. At least not on YouTube. Not on YouTube like that. So I thought, okay, where is this place? So and then I looked it up on Google Maps. And then I was like, wow, this is what I have been looking for. Like, it was like very tiny on the map, like very tiny on the map, and it was also close to the coast but not on the coast. And also because Merida, like, I have not heard about it, so I knew it wasn't gonna be as crazy as like Cancun or something. So I thought, okay, I bought my ticket like 30 hours before I was supposed to check out of my Airbnb. So let's say I bought my ticket the day before. Bought my ticket around maybe 1 a.m. or something, and then I booked my Airbnb, right? And actually one of the reasons why I was drawn to Merida was the low cost of Airbnbs, at least back then, or at least the Airbnbs that I was looking at within my budget, right? Because I negotiated with my host and she agreed to give me my Airbnb like studio apartment for about 4,500 pesos, which to me back then was about 225 US dollars. I've never paid such a low rent before, ever, even when I was living in Medellin, ever. But then again, this was like pandemic time and such, right? So yeah, I was like, wow, this is great. Okay, so I guess Merida it is then. So I bought my tickets, went to bed. Following day, woke up, I packed my things again, went to bed, and then very early the following day I went to the airport, took the flights, and I flew down to Merida, Yucatan. Finally, I was here, right? Even though I didn't even know about Merida till about maybe 5 days, 3 to 5 days before arriving here. Now, I see a lot of people asking questions in the Facebook groups. Hey, you know, I'm planning to move to Merida in 6 months. I'm planning to move to Merida in, you know, next summer. I want to come check it out in a year, whatever. I'm like, whoa. I came down here like 3 days after even finding out about what the heck Merida was, right? Like I didn't even know what it was. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, bought my ticket, and then I ended up here. Now, that was really wild for me because usually before going to the next city, I usually research it. I watch a few YouTube videos. I might join some Facebook groups, what have you, before going there. Now, because my plan then was to only spend about a month here, I didn't really do that much research because I knew, hey, if it doesn't work out, I can always go to Cancun or something, and then from there just fly out and fly back to Medellin. So I didn't actually do that much research. I wasn't planning to move here for the rest of my life anyway. So yeah, bought my ticket, and then within 30 hours I was already in Merida. Crazy. So I got here, right? So now that's pretty much how I ended up here, right? Now, why did I choose to live here? Because I wasn't planning on living here. My plan was to spend 1 month, so December, and then January go back to Medellin because that's where I was living before, you know, like up until a few months prior. So I got here and then I took the Uber. Then you can actually get an Uber from the airport. December 2020. Now it's March 2024. You have to walk outside of the airport to get Uber, Didi, or what have you. I mean, Merida is so small. The walk, it's about 2 minutes walk. Just walk outside of the airport. Not a big deal. But if you have a lot of luggages, yeah, maybe that is a big deal. But yeah, so and then I took the Uber, and then I believe the Uber probably it's a circular highway or a ring highway, so it surrounds the city, and it's called periferical maybe. And this was like now December, so people were still working remotely. The tourism in Merida was like pretty much down, lots of restriction then, so there weren't so many cars on the road. So I just love how free the roads were, the highways, right? At least the peripheral that we took. And I was just looking around and I felt at peace. I felt relaxed. I felt at peace. I was like, wow. And then as we got even into the city, right, I noticed, wow, all of these buildings are just one building, like 1 story, 2 stories, that was it. Now, Medellin, where I was living, like it's like high rises all over the place. And like sometimes the air quality, it's not that great. During the lockdown, it was really nice because you weren't allowed to go out, so people weren't driving cars. So it was nice during the lockdown. But yeah, I just love how tranquil Merida was then. It was quiet. I could feel the slow pace of life, like the slow pace of living. I could just feel how slow everything was, even though I was still in my Uber, right? I just felt, you know, like everything just felt relaxed. Not so many cars on the roads. Everything was just calm. Everything was peaceful. Everything was going according to plan. Everything just was smooth, right? So I thought, even though I was still on my way to my Airbnb. So I thought, you know what, I think I could live here. But anyway, I checked into my Airbnb. I paid my my rent for the month, and then I think 2 weeks into that, so this was like in December. Usually every December I always like do reflection, goal setting, these are the things I want to get done next year. And then I thought, you know what, Merida is so calm, it's so quiet, so peaceful, and I really need to focus on a few things. What if I stay here for a few more months, work on some of the goals that I had set for myself then, and just be focused? Because I knew once I get back to Medellin, I'll be like, hey, I want to go do this, I want to go there, I want to. So that, okay, because I didn't know that many people. Well, I knew nobody really. I knew nobody, like 0 people. So because I didn't know anybody then, so I thought, okay, well, let's stay here and let's see how things goes, right? And I just loved like the standard of living in Mexico versus Canada / the US, it's not so different. So you could get a lot of products, a lot of things that you would normally get in the States, you can get them down here. And as a matter of fact, depending on the city, if you are, let's say, Mexico City, or you're in Monterrey, like cities closer to the border, they have so many US businesses, so many American businesses. So it's almost like living back home, really. So I thought, okay, well, this is nice, right? So this is pretty cool. It's not so congested like Medellin. It's it's pretty cool, quiet. I can actually focus and work. So that was the reason why I decided to stay, right? And then so that was 1 month, right? Well, 2 weeks in. So and then I stayed pretty much the whole month at my Airbnb. I went to the beach maybe a couple times or so, Central, a few things. Now I was just hanging out by myself because obviously I didn't know anybody. And then I went on Facebook Marketplace, right? And I decided to look for a place. I found a place affordable. I moved in, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. Now I will make another video about why I decided to stay here, because I want to keep this video short. I'll make another video about why I decided to stay here, and how I got my apartment, and how to find affordable apartment. Now I know things are getting more expensive and Merida is getting more popular, so it's not like back during the pandemic days when I moved down here. So I will make follow-up videos to this video. Now if you guys have any question about this video or anything that I said during this intro video, do let me know in the comment section, and I will see you in the next video. Ciao.